Christina.
Bryan.
So there were some folks that wanted me to play some more loop.
Okay.
So that's what we're gonna do.
Do it. Great job, everyone.
Yeah.
All right. So, I'll just kind of read through some of the things I scribbled.
Okay.
So I wrote chops, but not too much chops. Like, so I think about funk being freaking hard to play, but even harder to read. Like, you kind of have to feel it. Funk is a feeling, and it's rhythmically highly complex. So, chops, but not too much chops. I can hear that they've trained, and that's allowed. um, and that adds to the energy and the fun of it. Um, so I loved how they're playing. I thought Genevieve did a great job. Yay for the voice as an instrument.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. And like everybody did great. But I did really just think, yay bass man. And again, like these days my listening is in a different arena, so I'm sure there are other people to refer to, but this does feel to me like stuff coming out of fusion.
Yeah.
And coming out of the 80s fusion. So I guess some of my references are still kind of applicable, even though I'm like I said, I'm listening in a different zone these days. So another thing that I really enjoyed was the sound baffling. Like Lewis Cole will make any space his own for recording. And again, like I was spending time just trying to figure out what the heck they were doing with the recording. And I understand that somebody was someplace else recording, like in the kitchen. But with keyboards, you can kind of be going direct into a mixer, and you can be in headphones. And I'm under the impression that what we were getting from the keyboards was tracking into that pencil mic. Like there might have been another thing going into the board as well, but was anybody wearing headphones? I believe I'm wearing headphones and no one else is wearing headphones to the party. So that's just interesting. I mean, it's very intentional, the way he's setting up the room sound. And yeah, I loved what everybody was contributing. Let's see. Rolando's not actually a brand. That's fun. And I also made a note here about the redemption of keyboards. Keyboards were responsible for a lot of things happening in the 80s, and many of them were not good. And now that I'm reflecting what I just saw, funk was achieved without a guitar. And that is not that's not a traditional choice for the funk. So so I love the athleticism and the textural choices that the keyboard players were making, both in terms of what they chose for a sound and how they were playing. Like keyboards can do everything. Mm-hmm. So that was pretty fun. I often didn't feel like I was listening to try to pull out what Frank Zappa looking keyboard player, and I loved everybody's look. So let's just also take a moment there just to pause and say, if you're a musician performing, you are making fashion choices. You are making fashion choices. And I like the sock quite a bit. I mean, there's kind of no way that you can think about funk without thinking about Parliament. Yeah. But this also reminded me, again, kind of like more of like in the vein of like Billy Cobham or Jocko or Weather Report. And again, I'm pulling from my references because that was the era in which I was more immersed in jazz and listening to fusion. So Miami in the 80s would be fusion. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. I loved the fun as well as the accuracy of what they were going after. Right. And, you know, the thing is, like when you're doing something that's highly intricate rhythmically, you don't need a whole bunch of chords mucking it up. Mm-hmm. Like funk is really complicated. if people haven't tried playing funk, they don't know. They don't know. So anyway,
And
yeah.
Yeah, I found when I'm listening to funk stuff, it's not right.
Yeah. You're not feeling it. You're not feeling it. But
No.
they were totally feeling
Yeah.
it. It was, and again, I just feel like there's this, it's not even practicality and it's not even no fuss. I'm not sure. There's DIY and then there's know what you're doing. Maybe we should start that as a new acronym. And that would be, because they are the knowers.
Yeah.
It doesn't look as good. KWYD doesn't look as good. But they did know what they were doing. They did know what they're doing. There's a sense that Lewis has got it dialed in, the band sound that he's going after and the drum sound he's going after, and he is very effectively and efficiently, it's kind of no excuses DIY. Like, and what I mean by that is, oh, we're DIY, so I guess we just couldn't figure out how to get the drums to be balanced in their recording sound. Like, no. No. Yep. Apparently that is somebody's home that's got, like, I want that baffling. The baffling was deluxe. Yeah. And so just that sense of when you know what you're doing, you can kind of do it anywhere.
Yeah, and I think it's a certain energy to, like, okay, cram everybody into the closet and put up the sound stuff.
And why wouldn't you put your video recording person in the closet?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So it feels like there's kind of like a cut to the chase or a no holds barred, or let's get this done. It's like, I'm not swearing. It's like somebody saying, screw it. Screw it. Let's do it. Like, it's just, it's not that hard. And for other people, it would be that hard. Like, they would need to go out and take 15 years of drum lessons to be able to play what he's playing. So, but if you've put in that growing as an artist and as a musician, and also the technique, like, it's chops, but not too much chops. Like, they're not resting on their chops laurels. They're playing. So to be able to survive whatever it took them to get to that level of fluency, and then to be able to play, like, again, it's like, screw it, let's do it.
Yeah.
And so that's just really fun. So thank you for a fun track. Thank you, Lewis Cole and the Knowers for that.
Cool. All right. Well, that's going to lead into our next one.
Oh, can I just say one other thing? It sounds like there was auto-tuning, but it wasn't needed. In other words, it wasn't auto-tuning to fix pitch issues.
Right.
It was a mixing decision.
Yes. And sometimes I'll have to play you, like, their recordings of their songs on the album are different than the songs that are on the album. On the album, for Noah, it's super, super produced. Really, really well produced. And a lot more electronic stuff going on too.
Is it self-produced, or does he give that over to somebody?
I don't actually. We should have to look that up.
So, and I think, okay, and this is not the same band at all, but we've been having a discussion recently on the album that XTC did, where the record company wanted them to sound less British. So without getting full buy-in from the band, especially the leader, who was also a producer audio head, they brought in Todd Rundgren, and it was just, there was never going to be a good outcome because Todd had been sent in to make them sound not like themselves.
Yeah, that is not the case with their Noah. It's just, he's also in the band really into it. So it's just them exploring both sides. Video recording in one kind of direction. I don't know.
So the thing that you've been bringing for me to watch has been people that are, as artists, taking a larger arc of responsibility than is traditional. Like, it's not DIY, like we're just going to keep selling our own cupcakes for merch, though that would be fun. I'd like to see more bands making their own cupcakes. Did I just give away a good idea?
Yeah, you did.
But I digress. Yeah, cupcakes are the new T-shirt. Where was I going with DIY? There's a point where if you know it well enough, then you can lead, arc, describe what your vision is, and you can play better with others. Like, for example, I have not yet seen Lewis abdicate drums to anybody else. Like, it feels like when he's singing from the drums. Like, he's going to keep drums for himself. But if he ever did somehow decide, oh, I'm going to let somebody else play drums while I do 5 other things on stage. And I think he might have for one of the things you showed me. Like, there was like kind of like a ghost drummer off in the shadows or percussionist. He'd be able to describe what he wants.
Right.
So I think there's a point, and I'm just curious as we go through Lewis Cole, because if you can do it all, that doesn't mean you should.
Mm-hmm.
And I think his efficiency of like, let's just do this. He's not fuddling around making it be harder than it needs to be or more expensive than it needs to be, or we all need to go record in a castle. But you also can't actually do all the things all at once. So that's going to be one of the things that I'm observing in Lewis, is he's got this multifaceted set of talents. Like, because there's a point sometimes where, got one last thing on this.
Yeah.
So to play a band, to let a band have its own ness and go to where it can go energetically and artistically, you don't control them, you aim them.
I like that.
Yeah. It's like it's its own. It's not like they're your instrument.
Unless you're Steely Dan.
Oh my God, Steely Dan, we've been talking about at home too. And if you want to make recording miserable, join Steely Dan.
Yeah, it sounds great though. But yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's no aiming there.
There's no joy. There's no joy in the recording process.
Your hand and do it again. Do it again. Yeah.
No, actually, it's worse than that. Hey, we're going to have 4 of you suffer 3 hours each just on this same.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey, that's not my track on the album. That's a heartbreaker.
Yeah. To me, everybody Lewis plays with.
I'm sorry, you muttered. Say it again.
Oh, everyone that Lewis plays with, it seems like they're having.
Yeah, and so I think that's kind of also my gold standard, which is it fun? Is it fun? Are we having fun in our making process? Okay.
All right.
Let's see how Lewis continues his journey of being Lewis.
Yeah.
In context, but I don't know this context.
LC.
It's been a hard week, Bryan, and you're bringing the joy bus, so I thank you for that. And also, I haven't gone deep enough into Vulf to know their normal lineup. So, how much of a mashup was that, or how much was that Lewis sitting in with Vulf? I can't hear you. Still, you're muted. That's fun. Now I hear
That
you.
was Lewis sitting in with Vulf.
Okay, so everybody else was Vulf.
Yes.
So let's start with Lewis, since we're doing a Lewis. What's it called when you make art in a 4-piece? They don't call it the NBA 4-box, because they do that in NBAs a lot. Like you got boom, 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 boom,
Right.
like the Johari window.
Yeah.
And it's not a triptych, because a triptych would be 3.
Wow.
A what?
I don't know.
Okay, we're making like a quad. We're making like a
Yeah.
like a square of music. It's a musical square. Okay, so starting with Lewis and starting with fashion. So I appreciated that even in the time of jammies, there are still sunglasses.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had written, who is that keyboard player? And now I know that it's Theo, who wasn't playing guitar and doesn't look like how I thought he would look, which is fine.
It was freaky.
But I thought the shape of his face was going to be different. So I let that go. Again, one of the things that I'm hearing that isn't Lewis specific, but I think is interesting. So what I would share is that pianos are 50% percussion. Like we belong to the string family, but we also belong to the percussion family. And how you choose to play it is kind of your own deal. You can't really play keyboards like a string instrument, though you could have like touch sensitivity on a keyboard patch. Anyway, where I was going to go is just that piano is like a very near cousin to the percussion section. And so it's fun to see, again, I'm calling this kind of so far the redemption of keyboards.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no freaking reason that keyboards can't have as much energy and life and movement and good effects pedals as guitar players. So in this case, we also did have, this was like a cast of thousands. And what I love is that people have enough of a sense of each other and a sense of what they're going after that they can find their place in it. They're not a Latin band, but a Latin band's another, like a full on Latin band has also got a cast of thousands. Even if you don't have the horns, you've got just goo gobs of people in the rhythm section not stepping on each other. And so like I hear that in Vulfpeck, like they're having a lot of fun and that's table stakes. But they're also finding this place of being together in it where there's room for everybody. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, having done things with 3 other keyboard players, that it's kind of tricky. And I will also say, just to hold to tradition, that the instrument that always gets freaking buried, unless you're featuring the piano player, like it's either Chick Corea or it's Elton John, mm-hmm. Unless it's keyboards is like the star, like piano gets buried. Like, so that's one of the things I'm listening for is like, again, just kind of rest in peace. There's the burial of a traditional piano sound. It just gets washed. And that's not about anybody's musicality. It's just about, there's this, I love piano the best, but there's a spindly nature to our sound profile. We are easily wiped out by drums, by anybody else playing with us. There's upsides to the instrument as well. Anyway, you've got keyboards again, multiple keyboardists playing together in a way where everybody's got room. And
that's what I was curious to hear.
So it makes me laugh when I hear that.
Yeah. Is it difficult to play with three keyboard players.
Well, I will just say, and it was not the best ensemble, but it's okay. Like the University of Miami's School of Jazz Foster Building is dead. It's now part of the Frost School of Music. And maybe we shouldn't be saying this on a podcast. Whatever. It's all good. It's all good. And I'm not going to go through my music school trauma here. But one of the ensembles that I was in was like keyboard and drums ensemble. Like I felt like there were 3 keyboards and there was like 5 drummers in that group. Maybe there was just like 3 keyboards and like 1 drummer, but there was this sense of having to figure out how to play together. And I've been in other ensembles too, where like professionally. So in school we had a keyboard ensemble that was 3 people figuring, and you figure out how to write the arrangements or how to, but that's not how they're getting to what we heard today. How they're getting to what they were doing today is through their ears, which is a much better way to do it. And professionally, I've been in ensembles where that's what we're doing. So, well done, everyone. I think the key to success for layers of keyboards is it is a little bit like how close can you think of yourself like a guitar? Like there's often multiple guitar players, but the multiple guitar players, unless that's what they're going after, are not doing the same thing. So I think about
they'll often have different effects of sound.
Yeah, so you need to
sound different. They'll play different.
You need to timbre up differently, I think, so that you've got sound definition. And sometimes that is like, who's taking a high, mid, or low, but it goes way beyond that so that you aren't just washing and bleeding out each other's sounds. It's kind of like how cymbals bleed out a piano's sound profile. And I do love drums. So I think some of it was picking the different instruments. And by the way, piano and organ is a classic, with clav is a classic. So they kind of picked like a very nice trad, if I do say so, combo of how you might combine 3 keyboard players. And also they were going after piano as drum and piano as guitar. So it's really fun that Vulfpeck can do that. It's really fun that Lewis can hear that too. Like, because a lot of times what ends up happening is if you're adding extra keyboard players, you're adding us as like corn syrup. You're adding us as thickener. And so we're just hanging out there making washes that nobody cares about, or like a nice high string sound because there's just nothing else to do. Yeah. So nobody there was like playing like a side person. There's no side people. I'm not saying that there's not. So that's something about rhythm section, which is it's the heart of music, I think. And usually props are given more to bass and drums for being the heart of the matter, but keyboard can be in there just as much. Mm-hmm. What else did I want to say about rhythm section and being the heart of the matter? Rhythm sections often back up a front line. But within a rhythm section, you're going after something different. And there's not a star of the rhythm section. It's like you become a groove entity. So I think that's probably one of the things that Lewis is chasing in, even if he doesn't describe it that way, is how do you create like this phenomena or this persona or this groove entity that is rhythm section. And it's like being part of something that's bigger than yourself and has a bigger energy generation and a bigger feel. Like if people are going to ever dance, it's because the rhythm section did their job. So, and I don't know, I haven't ever seen, like, it'll be interesting if in the next things we see that I don't know if we're going to see, if people are dancing, because he's a little too complex for most contemporary listeners to dance to. And he might be pulling in more jazz heads who are not known for being particularly embodied these days, but the music itself has an energy and a vibrancy. God, I sound so podcasty, but the music is adjacent to dance. The question is to whether you've got listeners who are free enough to dance and in their bodies enough to be able to physically express this music. Let's see if we can find them. They're not going to be at Jazz Alley. Wow, I'm just going to get in trouble. I'm just going to get in trouble. But
all the jazz heads know
that they know that they usually listen while seated.
Yeah.
Okay, so but I also think about jazz not dying, requiring that people be able to participate through movement. And I'm not assigning that to myself or anybody else, but when jazz was popular, people could dance to it. And I understand there were after hours places that musicians would go with their own personal fun and games, but audiences want to participate. Okay, ready for the next one.